What's going on, guys? Back again today, trying out this new setting film recording scenario where I've got the collection in the background, the toys and the comics and stuff right here and over there for reviews and videos and seeing if it goes better. But I am doing this on my phone. I'm a little farther away from the recording device. Normally I'm at my computer with my headset. I'm gonna see how this goes for a video. If it doesn't go well, I will just go back to the old way, or I'll figure something out in terms of like getting a headset. But today we're here to talk about Justice League Infinity. I did a video on the very first issue, which is right here. And I said that it had promise and that I was a little worried because the cover art for future issues showed that they're gonna get very multiversal with this. And this being a continuation of the DC animated universe, anyone who follows that or knows what that means, you know that in the DC animated universe, we've never really gotten too multiversal. We got a little bit. They did some alternate reality stuff a little bit, but they never really set in stone the concept of the DC multiverse. And it looks like that's what we're starting to get here. I said in a previous video, I thought that I'm optimistic for that because thanks to reading Grant Morrison's The Multiversity, I'm kind of pro-multiverse now. I think it can be done in a positive way, as long as whoever's writing the story remembers that the multiverse is the setting and not the story itself. So, with that being said, issue 1 ended off on a bit of a cliffhanger with, we had Amazo from the DCAU, the solid gold Amazo. He was venturing out in space looking to find purpose of being, and he found this this area of space that to him it presented itself as like almost like a house of mirrors. And he heard this voice, and the voice was kind of taunting him, and eventually he like punched one of the mirrors, and it's kind of weird, I know, but bear with me. And he kind of shattered it, and this like multiversal energy started bleeding out from inside the mirror. And next thing you know, at the end of the issue, we see Superman, the main Superman, has swapped places with Overman. And for those of you who don't know, Overman in the normal DC comics is a version of Superman that crash landed in Nazi Germany during World War II, and he was raised by Adolf Hitler. And because he was raised by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis had Superman on their side, they won World War II. It's an interesting character, and I was really looking forward to see what more they did with that, and we got that last week in issue 2. This is the multiverse expansion of the DCAU multiverse. Superman and Overman have swapped places. Superman, the normal Superman, finds himself in Overman's universe, and Overman is in Superman's. He goes up against the Justice League. One of my biggest fears about DC doing a multiverse with the DCAU was, I was worried. I was like, okay, if you want to take the concept of the DC multiverse and adapt it into this iteration of DC, but also kind of make it its own thing, self-contained within the DCAU, that's fine. But if you're trying to connect the DCAU to the greater DC Comics multiverse, don't do that. That's a bad idea, don't do that. Well, after reading issue 2, some of my fears have been assuaged because we learn when Martian Manhunter finally returns to the fold to take action and help them defeat Overman, he kind of uses his psychic powers, he invades Overman's mind, and he discovers that this is not a version of Superman that crash landed in Nazi Germany and was raised by Adolf Hitler. No, they tie, it's brilliant, I really like this. They completely tie it in with a previous version of the DCAU that we've seen, one of the other alternate realities we've seen. In one of the episodes, I believe it's the first episode called in the Justice League show, it's called The Savage Time, we see the Justice League is transported to this alternate reality world where planet Earth is under the authoritarian, totalitarian rule of this tyrannical dictator named Vandal Savage. And basically, what we learned in those episodes is Vandal Savage is an immortal being. He cannot die. He's immortal. He was originally a caveman, and he touched some kind of like cosmic asteroid from space, and it made him immortal. Well, eventually, he decided that he wanted to conquer the world. He got tired of watching humanity fuck around and fuck shit up, so he's like, I'm gonna conquer the world and get this shit straightened out. And he realized his best time to do that, though, was in the past, back in like World War II times. Nazi Germany had assembled a amazing army, and they had a huge arsenal of weaponry, and he's like, that'd be the best time. So what he did was he enacted a plan to change the past. He somehow invented time travel. I'll have to rewatch the episode. I don't quite remember how he went about doing that. But he didn't travel back in time. Instead, he sent a message to his past self that was alive in the 1940s. And basically the message said, hey dude, look, I'm you from the future. Trust me, you should try and take over the world right now, because in about 60 years, you're going to be wishing you had. And he gave him intel on how World War II was going to play out. He gave them schematics and designs for advanced weaponry. So the 1940s version of Vandal Savage took this message from his future self and all the info that came with it, and he entered into the Third Reich. He got up there in Hitler's inner circle, and then he usurped Hitler and put Hitler on ice. And Vandal Savage became the new ruler and called it the Fourth Reich. That is the universe that this Overman is from. He is a version of Superman that crash landed, his ship as a baby crash landed into Vandal Savage's, not like Fourth Reich ruled world. And we saw a piece of this world in that episode of Justice League. We just didn't see this version of Overman in there, but it's implied that he was there. Eventually in that episode, the Justice League did go back in time again to World War II and stop Vandal Savage from winning. But as we all know, the multiverse with a multiverse, you don't destroy realities. You just keep splintering them off and adding more. So we initially saw the version of reality where Vandal Savage took over Hitler's country and armies, instituted the Fourth Reich, and won the war. And just because the Justice League went back and made some changes, it didn't erase that reality. It just splintered off and created a new one where he lost the war. So the one where he won is still around, and that's where this version of Overman is from. He crash landed into Vandal Savage's world. He was raised by Vandal Savage to be this authoritarian, totalitarian figure. And I think that's interesting, and I like that. One, because it still makes Overman Overman. Like, he's still the same character. It's just they've replaced Hitler with Vandal Savage. Big deal. But in doing so, they have kept to their own continuity. This is not meant to be Overman from the greater DC Comics universe. It's not meant to be... It's its own Overman, if that makes sense, which is what I love. The DC animated universe is by far the most well put together, cohesive version of DC out there. And I want it to stay its own thing. If they start trying to mix it with the greater DC Comics universe, it's going to get all muddled up just like this shit is over here. It's fine on its own. Just take from this source material, take pieces of this good stuff out of here, and adapt it into the DCAU, which is what they seem to be doing. So I'm not going to give too much away of like what happens to Superman and how the Justice League goes about defeating Overman and blah, blah, blah. Just suffice it to say, it's a good read. It has kind of soothed some of my fears that they were going to connect the DCAU to the larger DC Comics universe. They still could be attempting to do that with issue 3. We got to wait another month and see how that pans out. But this has me a little more optimistic now, because I have a feeling that if they were going to do that, they were going to connect the DCAU to the larger DC Comics universe. I think they would have gone ahead and started doing that in here with this Overman. Instead, they didn't. It's its own version of Overman that is signature to the DC animated universe, which is great. Also, just to let you know, turns out Superman is not the only one to switch places with a multiversal counterpart. Due to Amazo, shattering the mirror room wall and shit, people from all different realities are getting mixed-matched and mixed placed. So we're going to see how that pans out. The next issue I'm really excited for, because we see Calvin Ellis, President Superman, introduced. And I'm hoping, once again, that this is going to be a version of Calvin Ellis Superman that is specific to the DCAU. I could be wrong. I really hope I'm not, but I hope it's specific. I think it's a version of him, all the characters that they're going to run into from this multiverse that they're bringing into this. I hope they are signature versions to this. I hope it's the DCAU's own multiverse and it does not connect to this shit over here at all. I want the DCAU to just remain the DCAU. And this has got me hopeful that that is what is going to happen. So Justice League Infinity, #2, it's just continuing. It's just as good as the first issue. The first issue was a solid opener, but it was an opener. This is a good next issue. I'm really excited for the issues to come, specifically issue 3. If you were a fan of the DCAU, Batman, Superman animated series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, if you were a fan of all that stuff, just to let you know in case you don't already know, these comics right here, Justice League Infinity, that's the continuation of that universe. The universe and the version of DC you watched in those shows is being continued in comic book form. So if that interests you, I highly recommend picking these up at your local comic book store. They're definitely worth the money. It's a good read, and it's good to see this version of DC being continued. So that's my take on that. I highly recommend you guys check it out. If you liked what you saw here, please leave a like on this video, leave some comments if you feel like it. Check out some of my other videos, subscribe to my channel maybe, and other than that, I will see you guys next time.